meeting of the Board of Trustees for 2017. First item on the agenda is the invocation and pledge of allegiance, and I'll turn that over to Vice Chairman Bean.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just ask that you be with us tonight and that you watch over us and guide us in the decisions we have to make. We thank you for the wonderful days we've had, and we ask that you be with our students as they've left school now and they go their separate ways for the summer and that they return safely in the fall. Again, we ask that you be with us through each of the decisions we have to make tonight and keep the best interests of our children in mind as we do this. This we ask in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is consent agenda, approval of the agenda, and approval of the minutes from the May 16, 2017 board meeting. No objections. The agenda will stand approved and the meetings will stand approved as submitted. Next item is public participation period. Okay. Next, we will move on to reports on honors and accomplishments of students and staff. No. All right. Then we will now move on to unfinished business. First item is second and final reading of the 2017-18 proposed general fund budget. I'll turn that over to Ms. Richardson.
Thank you. We have again the same budget that you saw at first reading. I'll go over that again. It's a $79,551,857 budget. Last time I think we talked, the conference committee had not yet met. They met, came back with a variation of both Senate and House. The end result was very minimal on our budget, so we elected to go forward with this budget as it stands right now. Again, that is $30,721,325 from local, $46,716,137 from state, and $2,122,395 from other transfers in, predominantly the state funds for teacher salary increases. It also includes 1.4 FTE for occupational therapists, 3 FTEs, growth positions for teachers at Busby, and the fringe associated with that. It includes a $2 an hour increase for bus drivers. It includes changes to most of the classified salary schedules. Increases the special ed budget by $100,000 and utilities by $105,000. It also includes step increase for all eligible employees, along with a 2% increase on retirement and 3.4% increase on health insurance. I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Mr. Raymond?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve second final reading on 2017-18 general fund budget in the amount of $79,559,857.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kessler. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is consideration of Airport High School baseball press box schematics and ADA access, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Osborne.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James. We have with us Luke from Lambert, who is going to be presenting to you information with regard to ADA accessible restrooms, ADA accessible parking, and ADA accessible baseball stadium.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, thank you for the opportunity to come back and present to you. We appreciate your comments and feedback From last time, we tried to incorporate them. The scope of what we're looking at still remains approximately the same, looking at concession toilet renovations, the baseball press box and concession addition, existing bleacher relocation, handicap seating, handicap parking, and accessible route. One of your concerns from last time, Dr. James, was that we did a full analysis to make sure that what we were doing would get you code compliant. And so we did go out there and field measure bleachers, looked at the current 2015 code, and based upon the occupant load of 554 people for the 2 spaces, these are the numbers we came up with. You would need 5 handicap parking spaces, 7 wheelchair spaces with companion seating. Plumbing, you can list out here. We were hoping that we might be able to get under the new legislation for stadiums, but unfortunately OSF sees that as just applying to high school football stadiums and not to this type of facility. So you can see that does significantly increase our plumbing counts. These would be the code required for that many occupants. So if you zoom in, I apologize, it's a little small. What we've done is, since we did need to go up to 5 spaces, our civil engineer looked at the site and identified the 5 spaces at the top right of the site plan, that we could level all those out together. And that actually would tie us into the sidewalk that goes by the Eagle's Nest. And that would give you the 5 spaces you need for those. And then also that could be utilized for visitor access to the stadium. Once we started to look at how many bathrooms we needed, the concessions building essentially became full of bathrooms. It's about 630 square feet is what we needed to make that happen. So we'll zoom in a little bit more. So this just zooms in a little bit more, and I apologize, once again, it's a little hard to see, but you can see beside each one of the bleachers now is a small handicap symbol. Essentially, it's a 30 by 48 inch area with an area for a chair that can go beside it. We have 2 on the home side, 2 on the visitor side, and then 1 adjoining each one of the tennis court bleachers. And that would get you to the 7 that are required for this area. And we're still looking exactly where those would go, but we just want to give you a general idea of what it would look like. So in the concessions building, this would really become a full gut. We would take everything out of it. So what you see in red is what we'd be removing. Next slide. This is a schematic of what it would look like to get the code required amount of fixtures. So you're looking at 6 female fixtures with 2 sinks, a family restroom to the right, and then 4 male fixtures with 2 sinks. This is a quick scheme. We still need to figure out, we're trying to keep the electrical panel and sprinkler in the same place, but once our engineers get involved, we'll look and see what makes best sense as far as orienting the doors and things like this. And then this also gets you a small janitor's closet that would be used to clean those areas. Any questions on that?
How did you come with 554 seating capacity?
We measured the bleachers and then divided it by 18 inches, which is what's code for the capacity of bleachers.
I mean, and you're telling us that's a requirement to have that many stalls? I mean, I've been to a ton of baseball games over there. Not as many as my friend here. But I don't know that I've probably ever seen 554 people at those games. I just think, you know,
So that would
I've never
be,
seen, put it this way, I've never seen a line in the women's bathroom, and I've used it a lot.
I agree.
There's two toilets.
I agree. There's other routes that we could take to try and get this lower. We could potentially try to convince OSF that tennis and baseball would not be happening at the same time. And then your occupant count would just go towards the greater of those 2. Those are conversations we just haven't had the opportunity to have at the same time.
But 554 didn't count tennis people, did it?
Yes, tennis and baseball.
Oh, you were counting tennis people at the same time?
Yes.
Is that
Because
because
these
both are in the
restrooms-
same facility?
And I assume that, you know, there's some tennis happening during baseball season. We haven't gotten into the details of that, but this is the worst case scenario.
I mean, is it take into account that there are actually bathrooms, I guess, on the other side of those tennis courts? If tennis chose to use them, that those bleachers could actually, if they want to open the stadium, go inside the stadium, there's bathrooms right there on the other side of the tennis courts. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
Concession stand. I mean, there's a ton of toilets in there. Why can those toilets not count into the general count for, I just think this, I know you have to do what OSF tells you, I just think this is entirely excessive and overkill considering that, I mean, all we're really trying to do is get a press box in there. And then obviously you want to make the ADA accessible.
Right.
But other than just trying to throw a press box in there, I don't know how that small of a change triggers that many regulations.
So that's a very good point, and technically it does not. What we were asked to do was give you a study of if you wanted to bring it up to full code. What would cause the change is if you added more bleachers. Right now we're not doing that, we're moving them. So I don't think you would necessarily have to go to this much, but this, if you wanted to be fully code compliant to the fullest extent of the code, this would do.
For both facilities.
For both facilities, it's
And this is still renovating the existing building,
Yes.
not putting it under a press box like
That's
it's
correct. Yes, and we looked at that, and I think you want us to look at the cost effectiveness, and Glenn can speak to that, but especially given the amount of toilets we're having to do. So this building is about 600 square feet, and the proposed press box we want to do is about 300 square feet, about half this size. So if we could get the toilet counts down, once again, I've had preliminary conversations with OSF. Lisa will be actually visiting our airport site Tuesday. And so this is something that we could discuss further with her and try and get some guidance before we make any more decisions.
So what we're seeing there, you're showing us a full men's, full women, a family bathroom,
Yes.
and a mop sink.
Yes. A service sink, one service sink is required with the restaurant, with the restroom, and then after you get over 6 total fixtures and an assembly, you have to provide a family toilet. So, yes, it's a lot of bathrooms.
That's 6 women's got 6 women and 4 men.
Yeah. Once you get 6 combined, triggers the family restroom.
I didn't even have a contract with those.
Like I said, this is worst case scenario, but we did want to provide you with the numbers and show if it did come down to that, we can fit it there. Should I keep going?
Why is it more females than males?
That's a great
No,
question.
I'm not-
No, it's a great question. It's actually written, it's written that way in the code. It's different occupant loads for different,
Why are we so elaborate on a handicap bathroom?
I agree 100%. So with doing the concessions, essentially would become our restroom facility in this scenario. What we propose then would be a 2-level press box where we put the canteen on the bottom. This is just kind of schematic. We drew a couple of sinks and a counter, and would have maybe a window on either side, one that would face tennis and one that would face baseball. The next one. You can see on the back side of the stairs. So this is essentially the same plan we showed you last time, except it would be up on the 2nd level. Just a small storage closet and a counter and sliding windows. And then this is a conceptual rendering of the 2-story facility back behind the baseball field. And we did show this time, we're showing a blue, supposed to be a blue metal roof up there for your comments last time. Are there any questions? I did have more handicap parking things if you want me to discuss that.
Yes, what I asked Luke to do, since we have a current complaint that we're dealing with, and we're doing some work at the top of the stadium
top of the home bleachers. I asked him to look at creating some ADA parking there so that we could get ahead of the curve. And I asked specifically if we could use signage to use that parking when the stadium was in use, but during the regular school day, we would use that same parking for faculty parking. And it's my understanding that we can do that. So in essence, what we would do is we would be improving that parking area. In our previous plan that we brought to you, we were doing a retaining wall there and doing some things anyway. So basically, I just asked them to, while we're doing that work, let's try to make it most beneficial that we can get it. So I've asked them to give some information on what we can do to improve ADA parking at our football stadium. These 5 ADA parking spaces would be for the visitor side, and then we would also look at what we can create on the home side up above the home stadium.
So this is just, it's a Google Earth image, and I wanted to give you an idea. One of the things we looked at was the entire stadium capacity and just did a rough estimate of what the bleachers, if we did it by code, and that would essentially get us to about 25 handicap parking spaces that we should have for this facility. What we believe we can do is by utilizing the 5 by the Eagles Nest, we can pick up 14 in the staff parking up there. And then with what we're doing for the field house, what was existing and what we did for the softball down there, we actually would be maybe possibly 1 over what you would need to make the stadium. Now whether or not the route to everywhere or route to where there's seating is going to be accessible, is we haven't studied all that, but this would at least get you to that you have enough parking for that. So this is the top level. So where Don was speaking about is clouded. Originally, we were just going to try and fill that swale, but now we're talking about cutting it down, leveling it out, and we would be able to pick up about 14 handicap parking spaces that, like Don said, we could use signage that during school hours it's faculty parking, and then after hours and events it becomes handicap accessible parking. I don't know if you want me to go into this, but we did the same study for the softball field based upon current code requirements. We haven't come up with a solution, but we do have that information available for you to look at. So we do have enough handicap parking, but do need to add some wheelchair spaces. And then we haven't really studied your facilities, but just want to give you that information while we're doing this code review. So that will be
basically, we just have to add companion seats to the bleachers and stuff. I think get us to where we want it. And I asked Contract Construction to work up the numbers on this. As you know, we set aside $400,000 in our CPIF budget to address a new press box for the stadium, for the baseball field. And with the 2-story and with all of those bathrooms, we would be at $784,000. With the ADA parking above the stadium, that would be $96,000. So to me, the ADA parking is well worth the $96,000 investment. I'm not convinced that we want to spend that kind of money at the baseball field just at one time. I mean, I think we can, unless we add bleachers, we can just basically do some work to make sure that we have some handicap accessible restrooms, and I think we would be okay for now. But that would be up to the board if you want us. We've got the money in our bond referendum, some money left over. If we want to go full tilt on this thing and just get it all done. If not, then I would say that let's look at something more closely resembling what we presented the last time. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think my thought process, and I'm only one person, was more like what we have at the BC softball field. We have a nice big press box, and we have 2 bathrooms that I think are handicapped accessible. that anybody can use, but they're big, just 2 really big bathrooms. In addition, because we already have bathrooms in the canteen area and all that, you know, I think the goal of the point of this was to try to get airport baseball field a better press box than the thing that the parents built, which is very nice, and also to get an 80 bathroom and get the parking done. I mean, so that's just one important one, but we have a price on just that, or that, probably not, because we just brought it up.
We, you know, what we presented to you last time was just adding a couple of ADA restrooms and a 1-story baseball press box. Glenn, do you remember the price on that? Is Glenn in here?
Yes, right here. $442,119.
So we're within $40,000 of our budget, basically.
But that would have been a 1-story.
Yes, sir.
And it leaves the canteen where it is. Just makes, you know, some of the storage gets converted into ADA accessible restrooms.
I think one thing we was thinking last time was to leave the existing bathrooms like they are, put the press box up with 88 handicap accessible bathrooms under the press box. The existing bathrooms, you can use 4 right there already, so that eliminates all the demolition, replumbing, and rebuilding the inside of the building. Seems like to me that'd be a lot more economical.
You're not going to get the number of restrooms that we were told that we wanted to look at bringing it up to official standards. But yes, we think we could definitely get restrooms under there. We won't get this number. But we can certainly get restrooms under there. What we,
Maybe we can add some bleachers somewhere.
But yeah, but again, and if we're gonna take away stuff out there, I think we need to show them that the other bathrooms are within 500 yards of all of the seating capacity, and that there's a ton of bathrooms in there. I mean, excuse me, not yards, excuse me, feet. I mean, I can't imagine OSF would say we had to have that many bathrooms for that, even baseball and tennis all together at the same time. There's just not that many people combined watching both things.
It's not even 200 feet.
Yeah, I am 200 probably people most times.
200 feet to that restrooms and then restroom.
Yeah. So I think I don't think the number is the issue. I think the issue was we needed to get the handicap restrooms, and we need to get parking, we need to get a press box. That's what I would like to see.
Look, I think what I'm hearing from the board is if you can get what you've got drawn there, 2-story and with handicap restrooms underneath, and then obviously we've got a complaint about handicap parking, so we've got to do something about that. And then leave your other area like it is.
Because it remains basically storage.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the picture that showed the press, I mean, that looked really great. So with the press box up, with just 2 ADAs underneath, we're gonna leave the canteen where it is and go. It was actually, yes,
And I like the blue roof, thank you.
yes, looks good.
all right, here's my concern. Obviously, we hope to start construction on this summer. We won't have another board meeting until August. Are we okay to turn them loose from a schematical standpoint to do restrooms underneath with that schematic for the looks of that press box and get the restrooms worked out underneath them? Restrooms are restrooms. So are we okay to turn them loose to start working on that?
ADA restrooms and storage. Because that ADA will not take the entire bottom space.
We'll get it right.
You got 300 square feet, correct?
We're okay with that? So we all willing to vote to do that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, well, that, the recommendation of the administration would be to approve of the schematics as amended.
And I would just like to request that once he gets an official drawing, that
Send it
the
to
board
you.
be emailed that
Yeah,
to have a look before we start breaking ground on it. I think we'd all like to know exactly what we're getting
Okay.
and the cost.
Okay. Mr. Bingham?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we authorize the administrator to proceed with the schematics as amended with the two-story press box, canteen, and the building left alone, but the ADA bathroom is placed underneath the press box.
Any motion, do I have a second? Second for Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is reconsideration of tennis courts at Brooklyn Casey High School. Mr. Eisenhower?
Again, Madam Chair, we presented to you last time we have Todd Cease with Jumper Carter Cease and Jim Kirk with Thompson Turner with us tonight. Basically, after we went back and started looking at this, we were pretty well bringing you the same thing we presented to you last time. And we want you to see what you've already approved, which was 5 courts. We've got an option that I think we showed you last time of rerouting the road slightly, scooting the road, just altering it slightly, and getting the 6 tennis courts almost in line with each other, or building the 6th tennis court over along third base line for a baseball field. If we do that, we would have to do some rearranging of the batting cages and that sort of thing. And we have some concerns about the location of that, which we did last time for foul balls and that sort of thing. But we will make sure you see it and give you the opportunity to revisit.
Thank you, Mr. Eisenhower. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. And just to, as Don mentioned, to remind you what was approved at the last board meeting is this drawing. The new tennis court is over on the right-hand side of the document, and you can see sort of the regrading of the area around the new tennis court in this location, and then the proximity of the new tennis court to the existing girls' locker room of that existing gym. Okay, so that was what was approved at the last board meeting. We also looked at if you needed a 6th court, how you could add an adjacent court to the one that was previously approved, actually slide them forward north toward what was old Indigo, but the existing drive, you can see the driveway will have to be modified slightly to be able to accommodate the 2 courts. And one of the issues is that that 2nd court is now within about 5 feet of the existing building. And then the third option we wanted to show and share with you is, well, what happens if you add that 6th court? Now, the 5th court's in this location, but the 6th court could be down the third base line. The tennis court fence would also serve as the foul line fence for baseball. And you can see the existing outfield foul line fence is in this location. So we're encroaching several feet, but not a considerable amount of footage down that third base line. And then we're coming within about 3.5 to 4 feet of 7th Street. So that would be the third option. Now, Jenny's going to present the budget, which we've added some additional netting, to hopefully prevent foul balls from going into the tennis court. So she'll share the numbers with you.
Okay. Madam Chair, Dr. James, members of the board, thank you again for having us. So as Todd explained, just to reiterate, what you approved last month was the 5th tennis court in line with the courts that are currently existing. So what I wanted to make sure that we address is both options, both the option for 2 courts that we presented last time, which would have been 6 courts at the top. Now what that would have done, as Todd is showing, would have shifted both of the courts up, and we were going to have to relocate the road. The cost to do that was $111,776. That was the delta of the 2 options that I gave you before. So now what we have done is evaluate this option of putting the 6th court, rather than having it 5 feet away from your building, looking at it along third baseline. And what we have found is that it is, as you can see from the handout that I gave you, a little bit more expensive because you're going to have to reconfigure the existing fence. We're adding additional netting. There are additional electrical costs because you're having to run power out to this area rather than having the savings of running the power to one location. And it's also less expensive for the tennis court contractor because it's one continuous pour, whereas if you put it in 2 different locations, it's going to be 2 separate pours. So this actual tennis court contractor's cost is less expensive to put them up together up by the road. So whereas it may seem that it would be way more expensive to relocate the road, we're at about $112,000, as you can see from that sheet, to relocate the road and put them up close to the building. And then the additional costs for one tennis court along with their baseline would be $170,501. So you do have 2 options, but I wanted to make sure that we brought back the other options to the table so that you recall that it would be a little less expensive. And we would also have to, let me also clarify, relocate the existing batting cages, which are pretty substantial in size, and so there's a cost involved with that as well. If you have any questions, I'd be happy. And we are still actually replacing the stormwater pipe as you approved last time, and this wouldn't be an issue because we are in either case, because if the tennis court goes there, the stormwater pipe will just run immediately underneath that tennis court.
I'm the one that brought this up, asked me to be considered, so I guess I'll speak now. I was really hoping the third base line would fit better. That's a really snug fit. I didn't realize it was going to encroach on the ball field like that. So yeah, I'm fine keeping it at 5. I was hoping 6 was going to work, but obviously it's not. So
That was a good choice.
And we were trying for you, Brad.
oh, I know. And squeezing the time between the school, had we been able to keep bleachers and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just too tight. So we'll just keep it as is at 5. So.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate y'all bringing it up.
Okay, next we're going to move to new business. Consideration, first is consideration of approval for release time for religious instruction. And I believe we have Dr. Nico Chambers with us.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. James, and to the rest of the board. Good afternoon, good evening. And so thank you for allowing the School Time Bible to come forward, and I'm going to step in the place of Grace and Hartwell in his absence. So hopefully that'll be all right. And please apologize for my decorum. I'm not properly dressed, so please excuse that I'm just coming off of work. I apologize.
It's perfectly okay.
So I believe, let's see, that you have copies alphabetized by school name for the course that we're asking in. And I just want to mention that this is our 19th year being a part of the Lexington 2 School District, and we want to say thank you for being able to allow us to come in and share our program and do what we do, so thank you. I want to remind you that you already have a request present, current copies of the request, and also we would like to ask for permission to utilize student take-home folders. I think it's important that the students get a copy, are able to take assignments home and work on them at home.
Mr. Bingham?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the request for approval on the release time for religious instruction for BC #1, Casey Elementary, Concord Elementary, Pineview Elementary, Little River Academy for the Arts, Springdale Elementary, Wood Elementary, Busby Creative Arts Academy, Fulmer Middle, Forsyth Middle, Pine Ridge Middle, Brook Casey High, and Perry Education Center.
May I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Giles. Any discussion?
That includes every school except for Airport High School, correct?
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess you have to work with the church to get a location or whatever. Is that something that y'all are considering expanding for in the future?
In terms of,
To add, like, because because I think what we're pointing out is we only have one school that's like left out of it.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern is finding the church to partner with Apple. I think that's been a concern, so that's what we're working on. On the partner, so,
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
But if you have them on a former, how come you didn't have one on airport there side by side?
That's a very good question. I'm gonna have to get that answer back to you. That's a very good question. That's a good question. Also, the other permission was to utilize the take-home folders. Is that correct? Okay.
Well, I have a question. Now, what's the part about the take-home folders? And is administration, have you heard about with them? I mean, I'm kind of gray area here, so I think I need more information on the take-home folder part. I need to make sure that Dr. Hayward Evans has had a chance to shoot out
I
instructions.
think maybe what your reference is, students are issued folders to take on recorded papers. I think that may be what you're referencing.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure that they have take-home folders at the middle school, so that may be a concern.
I'm not sure either. I know we sent home a take-home handout. That may be something something new we want to start doing. But typically, they have been given one-page take-home assignment, or just a follow-up or a lesson overview for the parents to see. And so at this point now, we may be instituting a more elaborate something to take home and fill out and bring back in. So we just want to make sure we have permission to do
Oh,
that.
so you just want to give them a whole folder that like has your stuff in it?
Yes, ma'am.
In their folder?
Yes, ma'am.
The papers, I believe.
Right. We're not introducing any new curriculum. It's already the parent curriculum, but it's just an actual folder that they would take home.
Have a motion, second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good evening.
Okay. Next, we have a recommendation for disposal of old furniture. Turn that over to Dr. James.
Yes, ma'am. At the last meeting, we talked about a lot of the old furniture and what we could do with it. And we talked about sales and lots of things. As it turns out, it's very specific in the procurement code what we need, and we will need a board vote approving this because a lot of this stuff, one, is not tagged, and two, what is tagged, a lot of it nobody wants because it's antiquated. There's not very many school furniture antiques, but you've got 5 specific things that we have to do. Any equipment that can be used at another school, that can be used by that school in any kind of program, like the kitchen equipment that we're moving and going to a culinary arts program, we have to do that. Equipment and furniture that was purchased with federal funds has to be disposed of according to federal guidelines. So if you had some Title I money somewhere and there was something off, then we have to go back and do exactly what the federal government says, regardless of what we do with the rest of it. Technology equipment, we've got a contract with an e-waste disposal company, so that's not something where we're going to be selling old technology stuff and folks complaining or pulling up stuff. That'll be disposed of with that company. Anything that is of suitable value that it could be sold will be placed on gov deals. That way anybody in public can bid on it and buy it. The remaining stuff is the part that the board has to approve is if it doesn't fall into one of those categories above neatly, what we intend to do is just stack it all up and say we want a day where if you work here, you can take it under the following qualifications. You can't bring it back if you take it. It's yours forever. You can't throw it in our dumpster if you take it home and bring it back and we won't take it and you're gonna fill our dumpster. You can't do that. We won't repair it. We won't tell you that it needs. We don't want, if you pick it up, you got it forever and ever, always, amen. That's our recommendation. That falls within the procurement code, and that's our recommendation for the disposal of old furniture.
Dr. James,
Ma'am?
would board members be eligible to participate in this?
Yes,
Would
ma'am.
parents be eligible to
What
participate?
we would do first is we would let our employees first,
Yes, sir,
and
but I
then we
think we
would have
need more
parents.
than a day, because I think there's gonna be more takers than one day can fill.
Ms. Kessler, I hope you're right, but I'm gonna tell you, there's some of those desks I could have sat in a little boy, back when I was a little boy, in Calhoun Elementary, and I just can't imagine anybody wants. But
We're
we'll,
not be surprised with what happens on parents.
if they start going well,
Have an employee.
they'll have a price on them before the day's out.
Guests have gone to Antics looking for the wooden chairs. Believe me, they're hard to come by.
Well, we want to give our employees
So
the
are we
first.
eligible?
Yes, ma'am, you are eligible. And,
But it might be good to have parents there too.
I think so.
Within parents.
and
I think so.
that'll be perfectly fine, because our ultimate goal is not to have to use a dumping service. University of South Carolina has given us the name of a salvage company that they use. We're hoping not to have to use it. So if we can get teachers and board members and some parents to haul all that stuff away and us not have to pay the salvage, that's a good day. So,
Remember, you're gonna be a grandparent on the same.
I am, and I hope my son doesn't bring his junk to mine.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the recommendation and plan presented for the disposal of old furniture from the schools.
I have a recommendation to have a second. Second by Ms. Kessler. Any discussion?
Do we need to amend it to set a second day for?
We'll take you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
I have one more. And Dr. James, I'm not sure this is under this category of old furniture, quote unquote, that I'm about to bring up, but when you get ready to do the renovations with the auditorium, there was a 50-year class reunion that just went through there, and there was some people in that class reunion who said, you know, if y'all just want to throw all these seats away when you tear them, there's underneath those old nasty cloth seats are really beautiful, probably hardwood. That was the original ones, and there's people in the
A lot of
community who
students
would
may
love,
scratch
might
those
even
ones.
sell them, but I'm gonna check the hearing on that.
Those seats, if they're in any kind of shape whatsoever, Beth, are extremely expensive, because what's happening, a lot of the older auditoriums are having them refurbished, keeping the original. So if you aren't going to use them in the auditorium in Brooklyn Case, you probably would want to look at somebody that was redoing, I know, School of Deaf and Blind redid theirs. So there's actually money there.
Well, that's, I was actually saying, I didn't know if you could sell them, but they were interested in buying them if you want to sell them. Now, we're gonna use them with, you could sell them, I don't have procurement reports with that, but you could make a lot of money to alumni who would come in and buy those. Just-
I would do a package deal with their locker too, if they want.
Do the real gun deals or people, I think that's what they do. It goes out on gun deals.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, motion carries. All right, next item is consideration of Airport High School track colors. Mr. Eisenhower.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, looking carries, once again, going to present to us some options and considerations for track colors. And I will say we've already gotten to the school previously, and they chose an alternating blue and grayish silver lanes.
So is that number 2?
Yes, and so I've also got them up here on the screen, but wanted to give you them all side by side, and sometimes it's a little hard to see. This is the existing track, and so what we were given by the company was essentially 6 options that they thought would fit well with the colors of the school. And what you'll see there, it is labeled. So this is the track option that the principal and his staff wanted to select. Principal Coleman was talking to me that I guess the alternating lane colors help them with training and also identifying a runner steps over the line, and that was the reason that they looked at that, but there's other variations to this as well.
Would that not create an optical illusion though for some people and have difficulty running on the color change like that? I see that as being a problem. I asked some runners about it this week and they said they could not, they would have difficulty with the different lanes being different color. Just a consideration.
I do have the other options up here, we can go through them, or if there's a preference we can look to that we can all look at together.
The two we have on the agenda would be that one and the all blue one. And I think Mr. Coleman also suggested we look at a light gray one.
Yes, so that would be the all blue one, that would just kind of have a painted gray line. There's this one that's an alternating gray color that's maybe is not as much of a contrast, but then has the blue accents.
Which other one did you want?
I like the alternating ones. If you look at all the colleges, they're going to that SEC championship. We just run to Carolina, and Carolina's track is alternating garnet and gray. And I think visually, I could understand the blue and the gray along with the press box, not the press box, but the field house. May be some concern, but I think the light gray, dark gray with the blue accent is also a very viable option that won't be maybe quite as busy, but still get us the same effect.
I apologize, I only have one of these. I do have the samples if anybody would like to see those. These are the two colors that the track supplier recommended. We initially wanted to go for lighter gray, but it said that would attract dirt and look very dirty all the time, so these are the two colors. If anybody wants to see.
If you did the blue and gray alternating, what color is the line that separates the lanes? Is it black, gray, dark gray, yellow, as far as the separation of the lanes, or
Some of the people said white.
white?
And I do believe we have an opportunity to select the paint. The alternating track colors is something we have to pick to order the materials, but the painted on lines, the color of those, we do have opportunity to select.
What kind of guarantees on this paint?
What's the Mondo itself has a very, very long, it's the cream of the crop as far as the warranty on it, finish warranty. We can get you all the details on it. I'm not up to speed. I do know, I think the total assembly is 25 years.
What they do with the base, because the base is what causes so many problems. Track, the surface holds up and the base crumbles underneath, and that's what causes the crack in the track.
So Mondo is very particular about their base. The base has to be perfect. So they'll come in, they'll have to mill out what's there, and then we'll have to get either the site contractor or the track contractor will have to get the base up to their standards before they'll put the top coat on it. We did already do a core of the track and did find that it's a suitable substrate, the compaction and everything was good when it was first put in. So Mondo, I believe, is happy with that. But as far as, since they're going to offer that 25-year warranty, they're also responsible for the substrate. As soon as they take that over, that becomes part of their system.
Go ahead.
Is there any extra cost to alternating the lanes like that? Because it just seems like it'd be cheaper to lay it all down at one time if it's one color.
As long as they're standard colors.
So, I'm gonna ask you, Mr. Coleman, so the solid blue with gray was not anything that your staff liked? It was either the alternating or the gray with the little bit of blue in it?
We're happy with anything we get, Ms. Wood.
I understand that.
See, that's right, we got
I'm just
that.
getting dizzy looking at all the different colors going.
All blue is very bright. If you look at Chapin's track, it's almost blinding. It's like looking at a tennis court. You know how bright those tennis courts are? That bright blue, that's kind of what Chapin's looks like. We were trying to tone that down a little bit.
Okay, all right.
I like the blue gray personally. I think that's sharp.
I like the blue and gray, but before we vote on this, can somebody tell me what they're doing with that checkerboard stuff up there? On that building?
Well, we're not talking about that.
I know, but that, to me, that has a bearing on what you do here. If you've got the alternating colors here and you're gonna leave the checkerboard up there, you're gonna have a really busy look from the press box. If that can be changed to a solid color and then you've got the alternating color, I think it will blend better. So I'm kind of curious as to what's gonna happen to that, although I know it's not the topic, I think it has a very big
So
bearing
you want
on the
a busy
overall
look?
look. Yeah, I do.
I mean, I agree with you, that's what I'm asking, I just, the blue, gray, and then what color would the line be?
White.
It would not be yellow.
Some of the spacings, they do have different colors, like where the hurdles go, little checkers, little marks, maybe those in different colors on most tracks.
Or either,
Small.
or you like the gray, y'all like the gray with this like little bit of blue in it?
I like that one as well.
I'm not talking about you're talking about alternating, I'm talking about like the solid gray with the little blue. Can you like
Sorry.
go to rendering 4?
Okay, I hope I can. Some of them are labeled and there we go.
Is that what you're talking about?
It's talking about the alternating.
Alternating.
Back up.
Blue, gray,
Coaches.
blue, gray, blue, gray. It's rendering 2.
2 or 3 is the one.
Go to 3. Is that 3?
Yes, that's 3.
And that's alternating?
That's rendering 2, right?
That's the alternating light.
Yes.
But you're gonna have, with that one, the light gray is the gray you said they recommended you don't use. Because of the dirt.
Right. That's true. You have to use dark and light. You need to use.
So I would think that alternate, or that option is
Number 3.
I would think so.
Yes,
These
I agree.
colors that-
Well, now, I agree, I'm just,
Think about standing up, being off the press box looking down. That's gonna look stunning.
which one?
Think about the runners that's gonna run on it. I know that you went to the Optical Illusion website today, and I know you think it's gonna be an issue, and maybe it will be an issue. Because there's things there that really created a busy moment for it, let me tell you. But that's still good work. But I still want to go back to the building.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't even not address that. We understood that there's some complaints about that, and we've researched with the manufacturer, and we have options. The substrate is paintable, so it can be painted to any color that the board sees fit or the district would like to do. And we've gotten the product and given that to the district, and that's just be primed and painted. So it's not a huge undertaking to change that if you so desire.
What's there?
Okay, so I've gotten totally confused, I'm sorry. So, I will admit it. So what is airport's 2 favorite? What rendering numbers? 2?
2 is what the coaches and athletic staff prefer.
Right, but it does not have yellow lines separating the blue and gray. Is that correct?
That would be white.
White, okay. Cindy, I'm just making sure I know what I'm talking about. Okay, and then what is the other one that they like?
3, but 3.
But we can't use that because of the 2 grays, they said one would.
Yes, that is correct. That's the lighter color, we'll just show that here.
That clears me. All right, Mr. Chairman.
Madam Chair, I make the motion to approve rendering 2 for the track layout at Airport Hospital.
Second.
Any discussion? I only thing I would say is, let's try to make it not too many optical illusions where the children are dizzy. I'm not crazy about that, but if y'all think that's what the kids want, I like the solid colors, but that's what I'm saying, and I don't want yellow lines. It's white, okay. Any other discussion?
Remember, this is for a long time. No, maybe it's not gonna come and go.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Me.
No. Motion carries. All right. Next, we're gonna move to consideration of GMP for addition, remodeling of Springdale Elementary School. Turn that over to Mr. Overhill.
Madam Chair, we have with us tonight Mr. Bill Cramer, who is going to be presenting the guaranteed maximum price for the Springdale project. He was representing Recon. Unfortunately, the architect could not be with us tonight. His mother has pneumonia, and she's in some pretty bad conditions in with her since I went Wednesday. So, North Carolina. So, with that said, if you have any questions about the project, I hope we've seen it several times. If you have any questions, I could probably get Katie to go and run off some of our previous presentations. But with that, if you will, I'd like to ask Mr. Cram to come up and present the guaranteed maximum price, and then we'll answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Eisenhower. Madam Chairman, Dr. James, members of the board, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. It's going to be boring. We don't have pictures. I can't sing, and Steve doesn't want to dance. I'm just dancing. So we will
Stand on
move.
his head?
Pardon?
Can you stand on his head?
I know, can you stand on your head? Last week, we received subcontractor and vendor bids for the Springdale project. Once again, we had solid coverage, competitive bids, quality bidders coming to the table. We are still verifying the scope of vetting the bids, but at this stage, we're proposing a guaranteed maximum price of $12,160,000. As I said, we're continuing to explore vetting the bids, finding some cost savings, and seeking some additional sub-bids. Our goal is to ultimately deliver this project to you for under $12 million. We think that's certainly doable. And I'll remind you that all savings that we do generate revert 100% to the school district. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Offer any insight from the chemist.
Ms. Graham?
I'll make a motion to approve the GMP for the addition remodeling of Springdale Elementary School.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kessler. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you very
sir.
much. It's going to be a great project.
Thank you. John, please make sure that you send our prayers to the architect.
Certainly. I have one comment before we do the business, and it's nothing that I'm asking you to vote on, but I really had intentions of bringing you several bids for CPI projects and that sort of thing. As you know, you have approved the CPI budget line by line, item by item. What we've done last summer, you allowed me to proceed with doing those bids and awarding those contracts as long as they don't exceed the budget. And that's what I've been doing. The only ones I brought to you really have been ones that exceeded the budget. So I hope you're okay with that. If not, you need to let me know, but otherwise I'm going to try to get as much done as we can. So.
Next item is consideration of request for overnight or out-of-state student travel.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Henderson's out-of-state storm, Jason. So, I'll be able to
I'll
put
make
this
a
up
motion
before.
to.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, motion carries. All right. Next, we will move on to administrative divisional reports. The first one is the superintendent. Do you have no report?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and next we will move on to instruction, and I will turn that over to Dr. Evans.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James. Each year, there are 3 times of the year I'm going to look forward to. That's kindergarten enrollment, gifted and talent announcements, and sending home enrollment papers. That's when I get told off the most by my constituents. I said to the team last year, this was my last year being told off about sending home those packets of papers to be signed because we would go online for online registration. So we agreed to do a soft rollout for early childhood in January. That is going very well. We mentioned, the reason we're bringing this to you tonight is because we briefly mentioned InfoSnap at the last board meeting when we spoke about the free reduced lunch form. And so we do intend to go live with InfoSnap for our entire community in July. And so we thought we would just give you a brief overview of what's to come, and in particular, if you all feel any questions, comments, or concerns, you will be able to respond to it in a likewise fashion. So I'm not going to steal my team's thunder. They have done an excellent job with Ms. Brady, Mr. Eskew, Ms. David, Bernie, and Rob. And so they're actually going to conduct the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Evans, Madam Chair, Dr. James, members of the board. I'm excited to talk about online registration, but as Dr. Evans said, it was Amy Conwell and David Eskew who did the setup in the background to get all of this going. And what I'm going to do is kind of walk you through what it'll look like for the parents in our community. So first, before we get started, I want to talk about what we mean when we say online registration. We're talking about the information that the parents fill out, and if they have a student at one school and another school, they have to go to that school and fill it out, and then another school and fill it out. And it's this kind of information. There's lots and lots of information that the parents need to fill out, and then it's duplicated if it's at different schools. So with online registration, the parents only fill that out once, and then the years after that, they just verify that information. They're not typing it in or writing it in every year. So, what to expect? 2017-18, this coming school year, online registration, as Dr. Evans says, will be available for everyone, but we're only requiring it for new students. So we wanted to give our community time because, traditionally we only have them interact with registration 3, 6, and 9, grade 3, grade 6, and grade 9. So we wanted this whole next coming year to really get the word out, have them understand this is changing, and not require them to do it right now. But again, we will for our new families. But families with returning students can, if they don't want to take giant packets home and fill all of that stuff out, they can go in and verify their current students' information and say yes to those packets. And we're going to be emailing out a SNAP code, which is what a returning student needs because they're already here, they need a code to let them in and deal with their students' information. We'll be emailing that out along with information on how to do this.
And if I may interject here, Kobe and Macy and Taylor and Courtney, you all are our test. And we tried to work with our vendor to ensure that you all had the email tonight, but they weren't able to send it to you. So you should be receiving the email within the next few days, but you will be our test.
Happy to do it.
Okay, so in 2018-19, after we've done all of the information campaigns, all of the Lexington 2 families will be required to either register as new students or go in and verify all their information every year moving forward after that. So the 2018-19 is when we're pushing. Everyone has to come do it. Everyone needs to register online. But again, we're still sticking with proof of residency as grade 3, 6, and 9. But we want them to verify and deal with their packet information online. So to start you out, this is how our parents will start. They begin by creating an account. This is what the screen looks like. Creating that account lets them start an application or a registration, and if they need to stop because there's something that we're asking for, they don't have it, or they get interrupted, they can stop, save it, log back in later, and still work on that same registration. This is what is required to make an account. It's not very much. Email address, phone number, they put in a password, and then they have their account and they're ready to go. This screen just gives them kind of an overview of how the system works, tells them how the arrows work, and then it also explains that they need to do a separate registration for every student that they have. Now the difference is, once you've pre-populated your own information, anything that applies to your other students, your other children, will be pre-populated in there. But you do need to say what school this child goes to, and what grade this child is in, and then what emergency information this child has. So you do have to do one process for each child. You can see at the top of the screen how the parents will progress through that registration, and I'll zoom in just a second. This again is just those links at the top to show you how the parents will go through. They'll provide family information, emergency information, medical information, and now they'll also be able to go ahead and fill out the volunteer application. And you notice at the bottom, I know it's kind of light, it's hard to see, but at the bottom they can upload a picture of their driver's license so that the school can already start processing the background check. They will also have an opportunity to upload their proof of residency. So we explained to them we need one from category A and one from category B, and you can see they can take a picture of it and upload it right there, so the school has everything that they need.
Right here, you can take a screenshot from your phone, but our department has also provided scanners to each school. So if families don't have access to scanners, we're going to equip each office with a scanner so they can go in and scan their documents there and get it uploaded.
And then finally, I think this is that packet woe that everybody has, the agreements. And there actually are 2 pages of agreements here that parents need to read over. These have the links with them right here, so they can click on them, read them, download them, save them, and then indicate whether they agree with those topics there that we have, because we have like students with special health care, family educational, that's where FERPA is. And all of that can be handled online. Then finally, they get our fee guidelines before they go to their signature page, so they'll see what kind of fees are charged for registration and how we take those. And I know that free and reduced lunch was what we wanted to try to capture, and this is something that we are just getting in there, and he was able to give me, Ms. Conwell went to him and begged for this to happen, because we're not quite ready to go live. But this is what the free and reduced lunch will look like, and you see it's one of the breadcrumbs up here, is what they call it, one of the links, so it's a stop in the application. So they stop here, it is required that they tell us whether they think they qualify for free and reduced lunch or not. And what that does is that lets us populate a field in PowerSchool. But let me back up why we're doing that. I know you wanted the form to be in there, but the free and reduced lunch form is a highly regulated federal form. So we are not able to edit it in any way and have it come through our system. That's just not allowed. So what we're going to do is have them indicate if they think they qualify. That will populate a field in PowerSchool where the registrar can run a report and say, okay, these are all the people that said they qualified, did I get a form from them? And then they can follow up with that. And we also have the link here telling them that they can go ahead to our food services site and fill out the free and reduced lunch online, which is what they would rather they do. And we also at the end will have a form that will print out if they want to print it out and fill it out and turn it in. So they'll have 3 different ways that they can interact with that. It gives them all of the information that food services gives them, which is the qualifications for income and all of the questions they may have. And that is it. That would be online registration. Are there any questions?
Say hallelujah. No, thank you. That's fantastic. I probably get more complaints about this than anything else. Just why haven't we done it? So it looks like it's going to work really, really well.
Yes, and also I did mention.
That's great.
How many applicants do you normally have for volunteers?
Do you have an estimate on that?
I don't know, Mr. Ham typically.
Jim has all that.
that we paid for the.
I have processed over 900 in 1 year.
That- but it- How many volunteers, are you allowed so many per class or whatever? Because I know we had to pay a fee for that background check, so that is our cost, or do they pay for their own background check?
I'm not sure.
I'll be happy to respond. Part, the school is allocated so many dollars, and once they exceed that, sometimes they may use activity funds. Parents can pay for it.
Many
so,
options.
Several
Thank you very much.
And Dr. Cooper just asked me, I forgot to mention, that it does translate into Spanish. Ms. Brown?
And so I want to make sure I understood this, so like, for those of us lucky parents who have more than one child, if I've already registered one child, is that stuff going to already be in there for the other 2 children, or does the parent have to type it each time too?
You do have to type anything that's specific to that child. So if there was some kind of difference, obviously their name, but if there was any difference, there may be some households where the child may have a different address, so they do have that kind of information, but it will pre-populate with everything you've already filled out for the first child that could be pertaining to both of the children.
Good job. Awesome.
I noticed that you've got the Spanish partially a version up there, but the forms themselves aren't in Spanish, but the wording's in Spanish.
This is that preview site. I'm not sure. I thought this might be French. I don't know. I'm not sure why that came through that way. But what will happen when the parent goes in on the live site is they can choose which language. And we had to go through and submit every piece of text that's in here and get it translated, and then they're uploading that Spanish in there. So whatever text is in here is going to turn into Spanish for the parents.
Did you want to address the info-snap memo that's going to go out?
Oh, yes, we'll email the parents the InfoSnap with their SNAP code, but we'll also have it available during scheduled pickup. Anytime that they can interact with the parents at the school, they can give them the InfoSnap code, and that's to link up the current students. Any new students just need to go in there, say new student registration, and just start typing. And what that does is go to Power School for the registrar to approve before it gets into our system.
On the volunteer application, exactly who would be needing to do that? That somebody like doing field trips, or is that the average parent wanting to help out with something? Is there a qualification on that that they would know? So that wouldn't everybody just wouldn't do it and have to pay for that?
Yeah, and I think when they upload the driver's license, the school doesn't have to process them. It's just if they're wanting to say, hey, I'm available, and they can go ahead and put it in there, so they can process it if they want to. But the school does have regulations, and I can make sure that that's clear on the form what that volunteer is and who needs to have a background check. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we'll move on to finance and turn that over to Ms. Richardson.
I'm going to pass out an updated revenue with the county treasurer. Tax revenues for March, it's not in by the time this went out for print, so that is the updated. We received around $867,000 for local tax revenue for, informatic, which is really what we received in May. Otherwise, I'll be happy to answer any other questions. Revenue. Then expenditures, we're still in line on full expenditures. And I'll be happy to answer any questions on that time. If nothing, on the next page, we have our referendum projects expenditures through the end of May. as well as the interest that we've earned to date at the bottom, the total savings and unallocated funds. I'll be happy to answer any question on this spreadsheet as well. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, if no objection, the financial reports will be approved as submitted. Next, we'll move on to administrative and student services. Turn that over to Mr. Eisenhower.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, in early stages of my construction update, I want to give kudos to Mr. Jay Moore. He worked with us very diligently to help us eliminate the need to do a deceleration lane on 378 and Cougar Drive, probably saved the district somewhere between $450,000 to $500,000. So we really appreciate that.
Thank you, John.
Also, we have for your entertainment, Mr. Todd Cease is going to come up and show you some quick photos of the elementary 2 site taken by their new drone. Just, I guess,
Right.
a few weeks.
We actually have a licensed drone pilot in the office, but it does come in handy. And so this kind of gives you an idea of the progress that's being made on Cougar Lane. So as you're riding in Cougar Lane, Northside Middle School's on the left, and this is the site over to the right. And it's pretty much 100% graded now, and the building pads are in. And they've actually started constructing digging footings. So making a lot of progress. You can kind of see that here's the parent drop off loop drive out front. The front door's somewhere right in here. These 2 darker areas is where they've spread the topsoil. Those will be play areas between the wings, and then down this end is a play field. On sort of the southernmost end of the site is the retention pond, which basically is an extension of the existing detention pond. The contractor has put in additional measures to prevent water from leaving the site during the construction process. And this is the area where there was some unsuitable soil, so you can see the red clay being put back in place. The black dirt, the organic material has been moved to the other end of the site so it'll grow grass well, but it's not good to park the cars on. So we're just kind of moving some dirt back and forth. And then here's a good picture of the footings that are just started. So fresh off the press, these were taken this morning. So things are going well on Cougar Drive. So thank you very much.
Couple of questions. What is the elevation on the south end of that from the road?
So that's a good point, Katie.
Surprised it's so high.
Yeah, and so when you're riding in, it's pretty high right here. But then if you go to the other end, there's a cut. So we balance the site so we don't have to have all in and all off. And that's why it's a little bit high coming in right here, but we think it'll be a really nice vantage point. The school will be sitting up on a little hill as you approach it.
We'll change the effects go to the middle school, looking up at the elementary school. Yeah.
You're right about that, but as you move back down Cougar, then it starts to flatten out again. So it's just as you approach.
We're watching. Todd, a couple questions.
Yeah.
Are you aware that the detention pond flooded a couple of weeks ago and flooded toward north side of the road? It went toward north side, it didn't go toward the community.
Okay, I was not aware of that. So I know they took measures because it's, that was 2-inch rain within an hour, so some water got off the site. So I'll make sure they know that it went in both directions.
Came over the road.
Okay. Right.
Another comment. And recall these days from Brooklyn Casey, when you all were down there doing the field, the odor of that soil that was there, and you've got the same problem with this. You can't get out of the parking lot. That odor from that soil knocks you over. And I can imagine it's only going to get worse as it did at BC years back. Is there any chemical or lime that you can sprinkle over that to sort of tone that odor down? It's really rank.
We'll check on that.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not certain. And I will say with the storm that happened a couple of weeks ago where the water was released off of the site, the detention pond was not in place yet. So now it is, and so hopefully that won't happen again.
Okay, thanks.
Good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Also, for your knowledge, we gave you the VCT colors that we're planning to use at the airport, just so you're aware. These are the colors that we're planning to use at BC High School in the hallways. We've gotten with the principal, and that's what they chose. Other than that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have with regard to the construction update that I provided you guys.
Questions? Ms. Kessler?
On the landscaping you're doing around the field house, is there going to be an irrigation system there so that they can, there he is, that's fantastic, thank you so much.
I've got several questions on the pages, but starting with airport, the board voted to redo that locker room across the hallway from the two boys' locker room, but it's boarded up. And we voted to take the mold out of there and paint that so that it can be a used area. Are we still planning to do that? And if so, who's going to do it?
I'm not sure which locker rooms you're talking
Gym floor, old gym floor, where we're putting the two bathrooms to the front, and you got the locker rooms up here, and it's all guys. The locker room across from there that had mold all in it, and you weren't going to do anything about it. And we said, you know, we can't leave that unaddressed. So now that door is blocked off, and nobody's doing anything about it, and this board voted to make sure that mold was removed and that room was painted and taken care of.
There's one to the left going out to the stadium.
Across from the ones where we've done the total renovation, where we've taken the floor out and all that.
Okay, are we going to have hot water heaters in the girls' locker rooms? 4 girls' locker rooms? For showers?
I would assume so.
Because I heard that we weren't going to put hot water heaters in for the shower rooms. And I'm thinking, if we're not going to do that, why are we doing plumbing and everything else? Because I don't intend to take a whole shower. So you don't have any intentions of not putting hot water heaters in? Okay.
That doesn't make sense to me, because we didn't do that. So.
Thank you very much. That clears up one thing. It's on record now. So, north side. The wall that was fixed in the gym on the interior, and I know that you're going to treat the exterior and waterproof it. But we've already, I think, yes, it's the outside wall. It's already been redone on the inside, it's straight paint, but there's moisture coming in. We were down there this past week, and the walls, you can feel behind some of the bubbles, there's water there. So I don't understand why we painted the inside and redid it when we haven't treated the outside.
I don't think we repainted it. That was painted back when it was painted. I don't think we've gone back in and repainted it yet.
We were told it had to be repainted. So you don't think the interior's been done?
No, I don't think so.
How do you plan to fix that problem? Is it at the windows where they put the window blocks in at the top? That's where the seal seems to be broken and all the moisture's in that wall.
Where the metal part goes to the frame and hold the other
There's several issues there. Basically, it's in grout. There are a lot of missing grout. There should have been weeps in the bottom of the brick that weren't there. So we'll put bleach in the top and in the bottom so that it can get airflow through and hopefully dry it out. We're also spraying it with a waterproof agent.
Don't think the glass window blocks had anything to do with that moisture problem?
They're going to check all of that, and we think that's part of the grouting and maybe some caulking issues.
Okay, moving to Pine Ridge. Are you going to repaint the entire gym or just below the striping?
Below the striping.
Why not the top, since this is their rotation for that to be? It's going to show dirt, and it's going to look dirty.
We can, but it's very expensive when you start getting that paint the roof and all.
But if that's not going to be repainted until their rotation comes again, that paint up there is going to be 2 paintings.
You don't typically need a whole lot of painting when you get up that high. It's basically clean. It's
Okay,
nice.
if you start to paint the bottom and you see an obvious and it really looks negative, will you address the upside?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, also, in the same building, there are just a few places that the tile is broken. What problems is? In the floors, there's some slight elevation as you go from some of the buildings, and the tiles are cracked. There's not very many of them. And you've got a construction company there now. Is there any way that those broken tiles can be addressed and taken up and maybe replaced, or somehow to address those issues so that when that building is completed later on this year?
We're still at Pine Ridge.
Yes, sir, still at home.
We're talking about VCT.
Yes, sir.
The problem
And
with
it's only in a couple of places. It's not like it's everywhere, so.
the problem with VCT is it's difficult to find that same VCT. So sometimes when you go in and replace 1 or 2 here and there, it looks worse than the broken tile.
It's literally across something. Would you at least look at that to see if they're going to address it?
Yeah, sure, we'll be glad to.
Where we, if you notice where we cut the wing walls and widen
Yes.
those, we've got some tile there that we're going to have to replace.
Yes.
And we looked at, we may have to do something creative there to make sure that that looks right.
And some of that broken tile is right there, very by those doors, because that's where they tend to go down. And I'm commended. You yourself know how much better that hallway entrance is. It just opened that whole hallway up. Looks really nice. Then, I was going to say, great news about 378. We have some other people to thank in addition to Jake, but because they really did go to battle for us, I'm very appreciative for that too. But I think that takes care of most of my concerns. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions on construction update? Let's go back to Defender.
Yes, ma'am. I had hoped, I just want you to know that we have been working with Defender. Obviously, we've added almost 100,000 square feet of buildings that will have to be cleaned. So I've approached Defender and I said, we will be fair with adjustments on this. So we had hoped to have something worked out so that we could at least share that with you tonight. At this point in time, we have not been able to finalize that number. So I apologize for not getting it to you. It just didn't work out.
Thank you. All right. Next item is human resources, and I believe we have no report on that. Next item on the agenda is executive session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that the Board of Trustees have a closed session for consideration of personnel appointments, reappointments, and resignations, discussion of contractual matters, discussion of property matters, and discussion of superintendent's evaluation.
A motion to have a second. Second by Mr. Giles. All in favor say aye. We are now in executive session. Take a few minutes break.